here tonight. Last night we had over 700 people came just to watch Friday night practice, which is just amazing.
Pretty amazing, Lee. You know, NASCAR is really catching on. It's getting everybody's attention. Well, it's so exciting, so close. They're leading the cars down pit lane now to give the drivers a feel. See that 60 sign, 60 kilometres an hour speed limit in pit lane. The guys will go down there, have a look at their tacho. That'll give them an indication of what to run at when they come in during the race.
If they go over that 60 kilometres per hour speed limit, it's going to be quite costly for them.
They're actually going to bring them to get in and then get back out again.
Well, let's go through the grid. John Faulkner off pole. Jimmy Richards second. That's great for Jim. Kim Jane off third position. Terry Waihoon out of 4. That's a great qualifying effort for Terry in the BP Car Care entry. Kevin Schwantz out of position 5 for Talbot Fast Freight. Ken James out of position number 6 in the Pennzoil Chevy. Dean Wanless a little further back in 7th, and that's a little unusual for Dean. Graham Smith in the Chevy Lumina, qualifying out of position number 8, and I'm sure that Graham would be quite happy with that. Someone who wouldn't be happy with 9th is Neville Lance. Ian Thomas from the back of the grid. This is the Westend NASCAR 100. We are set for a start. Look, there it is. There's the green flag, and we are underway.
One of the hardest things here, Lee, is trying to get the 700 horsepower down onto the racetrack.
Once again, stressing this is only a half-mile circuit, so approximately a kilometre long, and it's half the length of the Calder Park Thunderdome without those very steeply banked corners.
Very difficult racetrack to drive, Lee. Look at the shine off the racetrack there. The guys call this track the Lady in Black, and that's why. The VHT, the compound that's poured onto the track to give the drag cars grip, actually creates havoc for the NASCARs. They come out of the turn, they're onto a part of the track that gives them grip, then they're onto a part that causes a slide, back onto grip. You have no idea what the car is going to do. The only thing you can really be sure of, it's going to do something, and if you're not ready, it's going to bite you.
We ride now with Kim Jane in the Bob Jane Team Art Chevy. We now switch cameras to Terry Waihoon and the BP Car Care Ford. Having a little look up the inside there of Kevin Schwantz, who is well positioned. You can see the front-running 3. It's Faulkner, Jimmy Richards, Kim Jane, Kevin Schwantz, Terry Waihoon, Dean Wanless. They are your top half-dozen cars.
Guys are pouring it on really hard right from the word go. They're doing everything they can to keep them pointing in the right direction, Lee. But as I said earlier, getting that power to the ground is the hardest thing of all.
Jimmy Richards just drifting a little wide. Kim Jane trying to put the Chevy up the inside there, and all the while this is happening, have a look at Kevin Schwantz having a look up the inside. Kevin had some bad luck in the last round. He spun with only 2 laps to go and gave away his second position and went back to 6th. So he was a little bit disappointed with that, but he is right up there this time.
Well, you see the guys go for that inside run every time. It's very, very hard to get around the outside here at Adelaide because the cars use all of the track. They're really tight on the inside of the turn, and then they slide out right out to the wall.
But a little bit of a puff of smoke they came through there, coming through turn 4. If you're wondering what that was, so are we. I can't quite work that one out for myself.
Now, I think what's happening there, Lee, is that coming out of turn 4, the guys are trying to tuck in very tight. And, oh, look at Kim Jane trying to force the opening on Jimmy Richards.
A little bit of contact there between Kim and Jimmy. They're still going at it. We ride with Terry Waihoon in the BP Ford Thunderbird. Heading up into turn 1. You can see Richards just drifting wide there. Jane has already gone through. Schwantz has now positioned himself nicely, and he is through on the inside of Richards. So Jimmy has gone from 2nd back to 4th. This one, but whoa, we see Stepanek get out of shape.
Stepanek really nailed the gas there and got the car sideways coming out of turn 4.
The front runners are starting to swamp John Stepanek in his return drive here at his home track, Adelaide International. Wanless starting to go up the inside. We have a look at Kevin Schwantz and John Molt set on screen. There's our defending champ, Jimmy Richards, who's been relegated a couple of positions.
Lee, I've just heard John Stepanek on the radio. He's having problems with brakes already, very early in the race. But if you watch, look tight into the wheels and you'll see the discs actually glowing white hot.
Already the front runners starting to come up on some of the drivers at the back of the pack. It's what happens at this smaller circuit. Obviously, they're going to catch the back runners a little bit quicker. And that's exactly what Faulkner and Kim Jane, Kevin Schwantz, Jimmy Richards and Terry Waihoon have done. Likewise, Dean Wanless in the Wanless Metal Industries Ford Thunderbird.
Lee, the guys need to change their line a little bit here too, because what's also happening, it's such a hot night, such a tight racetrack, and the cars are so close, they're not getting the air in through the radiator. The cars start to overheat very quickly. So they change their line, try to get a bit of clear air in front of them.
John Faulkner in the Cummins Chevy is sitting pretty out in front. And you heard George Elliott make mention of those glowing brake discs. Have a look at his front wheel. You can see the red glowing inside. Kim Jane and Kevin Schwantz. Let's turn the clock back 12 months ago. And Kevin Schwantz won here the last round at Adelaide, so he'd be looking to repeat that in his debut season last year. Schwantz won 2 races. They were at Sydney's Oran Park and here in Adelaide. So he makes an inside move on Kim Jane. Wasn't exactly a forceful move. Kim didn't really fight the issue. So Schwantz up into second.
And we're in Kim Jane's car now following Schwantz. Look at Kevin's car slide around as it comes out of the turns. He'll drift it right up to the wall as he comes out of 4.
An interesting decision that the drivers have to make, George. The 100-lap race, do they change tyres or do they try and go for the whole length without?
Well, it's a really tough call, Lee, you know, but I don't think there's any way they could really run the 100 laps here tonight. It's very, very hard racetrack on tyres.
Our race leader, John Faulkner, coming past Graham Smith. Now he is looking at the back of Ken James in the Pennzoil Chevy. They've just gone past Les Kennywell, so the leaders are really starting to weave through some traffic now.
Faulkner up the inside of Ken James, a nice clean pass. Now trying to go around the outside of Ian Thomas. Does it without too much difficulty, actually.
You can see that was a good shot there from Ken James's car of just how shiny that track surface is.
Well, look at Ian Thomas's car moving around. Ian's having an enormous problem with that car pushing. If we follow him into the turn again here, Lee, you'll see the front of the car wants to drift up, as it did there. He's then getting out of the gas, hitting it hard, trying to get the back of the car to break loose a little bit to steer it with the throttle.
I was making mention earlier on that Ian Thomas is running in a new car. He's running a Chevy Lumina here at the Adelaide round as opposed to a Chevy Monte Carlo. Feels that this car has a better setup and better conditions for the smaller flat track. So whether that pays dividends for Ian Thomas, we'll have to wait and see. We're getting some great pictures at the moment, though, from the Pennzoil Chevy of Ken James as Kevin Schwantz comes up the inside and gets very loose.
Said, excuse me, let me through.
Terry Wyhoon pressuring Jimmy Richards, and likewise is Dean Wanless.
Oh, Daryl Coon slaps the wall coming out of 4.
Oh, that was an anxious moment for Daryl in the Simcoe Commodore, but he handled it quite nicely. Dean Wanless really starting to apply the pressure to Terry Wyhoon. Terry, of course, the reigning Oscar champion, now moved up into NASCARs, and it's his first time at Adelaide in a NASCAR.
There's Dean. Dean Wanless has had a bit of a hard luck story here. He crashed his good car, or the #1 car, in practice here on Friday night. Now running the second car, but he's certainly got it on the pace.
Indeed he has. John Stepanek just circulating behind Dean Wanless. He's pretty much running with Dino as well.
Yeah, Dean's having a few problems with the car, though. He's getting very sideways coming off the turns. He's just not quite able to keep it all nice and together.
If you've been following this season 96-97, there's a bit of contact.
Stepanek has touched him, and Wanless has just missed slamming into the end of pit wall.
A lucky escape there. Let's have a look at the Bob Jane Team Arts replay. Look at the last 2 cars in this group. It's Dean Wanless in 75. Stepanek gives him a little nudge there, just enough to turn Dean around.
Lee, Dean's been a little bit sideways anyway. Stepanek has been complaining on the radio earlier that he's running out of brakes, and possibly that's what's happened.
So an unlucky incident there, an unfortunate incident for young Dean Wanless. The caution lights are on and the pace car out of effective order behind the pace car. It pulls off the circuit. We've got a restart. Faulkner puts his foot down and goes...
Oh, Wanless is around again. He's just slammed into the wall head on.
Oh, this is just not the night for Dean Wanless.
Second time for the weekend. That's 2 cars Dean Wanless has torn up in one weekend.
Here's the Bob Jane Team Arts replay. It all happened a bit too fast, and Wanless has just gone spinning.
That's a hard hit, Lou.
Have a look.
Very hard hit.
George, that was a tremendous piece of driving by Daryl Coon in the Simcoe Commodore. He could have T-boned Dean Wanless there. Here's another angle again.
Front of the car, back of the car. It's actually spraying oil, Lee. Look at the oil running out of the front of that car. I'd say he's taken the oil pump right off the side of that engine.
Well, that's certainly going to hurt Dean Wanless's championship hopes as we ride now with Kim Jane. You can see the pace car there. Kim has decided to come into the pits.
Yeah, Lee, this is going to be a race of tactics here tonight. I don't know. Kim's come in early. He may take tyres on. You know, I think it'll be interesting to see who else comes in and whether they take tyres on now. I think if you had to put your money on and gamble for another yellow, the odds would be on another yellow. We're still early in the race. There's a long way to go. Jimmy Richards has just come in and his guys are wheeling tyres out.
Well, you were sitting there with Kim Jane when he came in for his pit stop. I got a quick glimpse too, George, of one of the officials saying to Jim Richards, push the car back, but he is still there as we go back with Kim Jane as he comes out onto the circuit. Caution light still on. There's the official there again saying push it back, push it back. So whether Jimmy's overshot his pit bay or not.
Well, you know, I mean, it's a pretty tough call here, Lee. It's a very tight pit area.
Well, Jim is certainly not going to be very happy with that at all.
Well, he's not happy, Lee, but he's got to look at that back wheel, Lee. That back wheel's not on that car correctly.
It is wobbling all over the shop, so let's hope that Jim can get back around into the pits.
He's been called back. I can hear him. He's been called back in to have the wheel put back on.
Let's hope that he can get back there without causing any major problems to himself or anyone else.
Well, the lights are off on the pace car, so we're going to have a start this time round.
It is John Faulkner sitting on the outside. Ken James in the Pennzoil Chevy on the inside. Here comes Jimmy back into the pits. Let's hope this one runs a little bit more smoothly for him, I should say.
This is the hard part, Lee, getting that power to the ground, getting the car to bite as it comes out of the turn when you gas it up in second gear for a restart.
Faulkner, once again, the restart goes straight to the front. Kevin Schwantz has sucked in behind him. Wow, we've had an altercation and John Maltzett has gone spinning off. No major damage, though. Let's have a look at the replay. Someone coming up the inside there and has made contact. That is John Stepanek.
John Stepanek's made a big run for the inside there, hasn't quite got the room and turned around John Maltzett.
Well, it's not a very happy return to racing for John Stepanek.
Certainly an eventful one, Lee.
Let's get back to it, and it is Faulkner, Schwantz and Jane. In your top three positions, all three Chevys as Kim Jane makes an inside move. He has just dived up the inside of Kevin Schwantz.
Well, Lee, don't forget now that Kim Jane and Jim Richards are the only two cars on the racetrack with new tyres on. The others have elected to stay out, gambling on another yellow.
Similar to a couple of rounds ago at the Goodyear Thunderdome where we saw Kim Jane come in. He put all four new tyres on the car and just went charging. Maybe this could be his night, although he has got the current championship points leader right on his hammer. A perfect slate for Kim Jane in season 96-97, 3 wins from 3 starts. Faulkner is yet to win a NASCAR race. Could Adelaide be it as Jane makes an inside move on John Faulkner?
Well, Faulkner's just not able to get that car down low on the racetrack. The car is sliding up. Again, it's just tyres. Kim's got the new tyres. He's able to get the car stick, get it down low and take advantage of that opening.
Last year here at Adelaide International, John Faulkner and Jim Richards were running 1 and 2, and they had a little bit of an incident, and that handed the win over to Kevin Schwantz. Perhaps this night can be better for JF.
Sitting in Kimbo's car now, it'll be interesting to watch these other cars in front of him because they'll be sliding, just sliding everywhere.
Last year, or rather I should say a couple of years ago, Kim Jane, his best result here at Adelaide has been 4th. That was in 1994. So he is well poised to go better than that. We're seeing some pretty close pictures of him near John Maltzett in the Courier's Please car.
Car's handling like a dream for him at the moment. Lee's able to run high, low, pretty well wherever he wants to go, and he's getting the power to the ground. I've just seen the radar gun bounce to 185 kilometres an hour, so he's certainly able to get the speed up.
Not quite the speeds that you've heard us mention at the Goodyear Thunderdome, but still it's very, very entertaining. Les Kennywell there going round the outside of Daryl Kuhn in the number 10 Simcoe Commodore. An interesting story behind Daryl Kuhn. His jackman, for those of you who are keen motorsport enthusiasts, is Jimmy Ellis. Of course, the ex-motocross and supercross champion, now helping out with car racing.
John Faulkner's brakes are just glowing. They go from red to white. It'll be interesting to see how long he can keep that pace up.
1 and 2 in the race at the moment. The Westend NASCAR 100. Kim Jane
pushing underneath there. He's trying to make an opening for himself.
And let's not forget the fact that he has not changed tyres as yet. The man who is leading the race is on fresh tyres, so it's been a great effort to this point from John Faulkner.
It certainly has. He's absolutely driving hard there, Lee. No fresh tyres. He'd be really hanging out for a yellow. It's a big gamble. I mean, who knows? But on a race like Adelaide, you would have to think with 60 or 70 laps left to go, there would have to be another incident.
Well, I'm sure you're going to be proven right there, George Elliott. Looking through the windscreen, riding with Kim Jane, the championship points leader. You can see 0-3. Graham Smith in the red car, just a little up in front. Ahead of him, the BP Car Care Ford of Terry Wyhoon.
Kim's running them down there, Lee, but he has to be very careful. I noticed as he came out of the turn just a little earlier, the car got all squiggly. Just a sign of pouring the gas on just a little bit too much.
They're all making their way past. Les Kennywell was the car on the inside there. It looks like they're coming up on car 95, Bob Middleton in the White Line Transport machine.
Very difficult to see out of Kim's window. I'm having trouble looking at the monitor. How do you think Kim's going?
Very, very hard. It's very close. Here's the inside run now. It wasn't Bob Middleton. There's Middleton on the inside. So couldn't quite identify who it was.
Oh, and Faulkner's had a little bit of a tap there. Almost turned himself around.
Very close racing here in the Westend NASCAR 100. John Faulkner manages to hang on. It was Ken James, who the car that we were trying to identify up in front. He is not having a very good night's racing either. He's got some problems there, circulating a lot slower than what we usually see him.
Looking at Faulkner, he's pretty amazing. I mean, the guy's got, there couldn't be much left on those tyres now. He's skating around there, yet he's still got the car on his pace. He's working his insides out.
Great driving. That's a great camera angle there. John Faulkner in the Cummins Chevy, the 46 Tech Oils car.
Look at him drift wide. No tyres, Lee. He is really sweating on a yellow now.
We go back to our race lead-up, the 27 T-Mart Chevy of Kim Jane.
Kim's really getting the benefits of putting those tyres on. It was a great call by his crew chief, John Sidney, to take them on board. And I guess, you know, when you're sponsored by Bob Jane T-Marts, who cares if you have to use an extra set of tyres?
Well, something that I've noticed, George, is that we have seen Kevin Schwantz disappear out of the action. So we will try and keep you informed with that as to what's happened with Kevin. He was very excited this roundabout, doing very well. He's got Ian Walburn on board, of course, one of the Diet Coke BMW team members, to be his crew chief to replace John Stepanek. As, of course, we've seen John driving in this round. And the things were looking good for the Schwantz camp, but we will try and find out what the problem is.
Lee, I noticed a few puffs of smoke coming from Kevin's car earlier. I just hope that he hasn't had an engine problem. Seeing that the wheels there of John Faulkner's car, the brakes just glowing hot.
Shows you just how hard they're working. Well, there we go. There's a picture of Kevin, and he's fighting it out at the back of the field with...
There's that puff of smoke I spoke about earlier, Lee. Just comes out there. Just not sure. I can't quite make out if it's actually a tyre or if it's coming from the exhaust pipes.
He is, although passing Ken James and Darryl Kuhn, he is not going as fast as what he was earlier on. And we'll try and see if we can work out the problem for you.
Yeah, Lee, that puff of smoke is definitely coming from exhaust.
Kevin Schwantz, we made mention earlier, he was the winner here last year, and it doesn't appear as though it's going to happen again in the 96-97 series.
And you're right, he was very excited about this race tonight.
On board at the moment in the Pennzoil Chevy with Ken James. The car's coming out of turn 4 onto the main straight. There goes Neville Lance, Jimmy Richards, Ken James. Then we pick up the Simcoe Commodore of Darryl Kuhn.
Kevin's really not having a good time out there now. What a shame. He was really on the pace. The car was flying, but it's just missing really badly now.
Let's not forget about our front runners. It is still Kim Jane who leads the way from John Faulkner, and Kevin is slowing even more. He is right on the inside and, in fact, is coming into the pits. So Schwantz into the pits, whether his team can work something out for him to get him back out there and get some championship points.
About all he could do now is really go out there and fly the flag, Lee. You know, on a half-mile circuit like this, you come in and pit under a green, you lose a lot of time.
Bob Jane T-Mart Chevy. Looks like he's going to make it 4 from 4. We've got 10 laps remaining in the Westend NASCAR 100. Kim Jane is certainly looking the goods.
Lee, John Faulkner would be praying for a yellow now. There's 10 laps to go. If he could get a yellow, get some tyres on there, I think he would have what it takes to get Kim back.
Jimmy Richards and Neville Lance having a great battle. Lance has now moved up into third position. Jimmy Richards back in fourth. Terry Waihoon holding on to fifth position. And this is the improvement that Neville Lance was looking for. He's been running consistently back in fourths, fifth, sixth. And this is what he has been looking for, a top three finish.
Lee, let's not forget that Neville is also running on old tyres there. Jim's got a new set of tyres. It's just enabled him to run around the outside.
A beautiful outside move by Jimmy Richards. So the Valvoline machine, the Goodyear car, is up into third position.
Very much a tactical race here tonight, Lee, but who would have... So,
if you're wondering, of course, the surname, Kim Jane isn't Bob's son. In fact, it is Bob's brother Bill. That's his son, so it's Bob's nephew.
Faulkner almost sliding out into the wall. He's doing everything he can there just to keep that car going in the right direction.
We're on our way home. The last lap of the Westend NASCAR 100 here at Adelaide International Raceway. Placings at the moment are Kim Jane out in front with John Faulkner in second position. Our defending champ Jim Richards back in third. It looks pretty much like that's the way it is going to finish. The checkered flag is out and Kim Jane has an unblemished score at the moment. 4 from 4. Kim Jane in the Bob Jane Team Mart Chevy in for the win.